Hi, my name is Kylie and this is my final benchmark project, and I got chronic ankle stability slash chronic ankle sprain is what we're looking at. So again, I have this class Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday. So we did do a static assessment, and we did find overpronation, excessive eversion, external rotation, knee valgus, and tibial internal rotation. Based on that, we wanted to go to the overhead squat. We saw a lot of similar things, such as reduced stability, the overpronation, excessive ankle eversion, external rotation, knee valgus, and tibial internal rotation. And so some of these things are like, what could cause this? And so options are a weakness in the anterior and posterior tibialis. It could be contributing to the limited ankle stability. Our gastroc and soleus could be overactive for a patient, which causes this extra ankle movement and instability. And so based on past medical history of chronic ankle sprains, we do know this patient is prone to spraining. So we have some ligament laxity and some muscle deficits we want to address. Again, we'd get a gait assessment. This was our dynamic movement, and we did find reduced stability, overpronation, excessive ankle eversion, external rotation, decreased dorsiflexion, and reduced push-off power based on all of these things. So we just wanted to look more in depth into that, but focusing on more so of the limited dorsiflexion, because this tends to be very common for individuals, so we really wanted to just go over that. And so for range of motion, we did find limited dorsiflexion. Normal is around 20 degrees, and we found 10 degrees, and that was pushing it. So we just wanted to look at that. So we did want to look at plantar flexion too, to make sure, as we saw in our gait assessment, we want to make sure it was coming from limited dorsiflexion and not just limited plantar flexion as well. And so our normal range is 30 to 50, and we found straight in the middle of 40, so that's good. For our strength assessment, we wanted to do all of these just in case to double check. So we did anterior tibialis, and the NASM score, they scored a 1. And this is the primary dorsiflexor, so that is like the main thing we're focused in on. We also did see the posterior tibialis score a 1, which is a stabilizer, and it's helpful in inversion, so it would make sense to see eversion if this is weak. And then we have the gastroc and soleus muscles, which are both responsible for plantar flexion, mostly the gastrocnemius muscle, but they scored a 3, so it's good. So based on this, though, we did want to inhibit the gastrocnemius and soleus because we did see overactivity of them, and we do this based on this intensity of overactivity could be causing a weakness in the anterior tibialis and posterior tibialis. So we just wanted to inhibit these and allow some better movement for the ankle. And so we did this through self-myofascial release with a tennis ball to get into the calf and make sure that tissue was getting loosened up. And we did it for 30 to 60 seconds. And so, yeah, let's look at that.
Inhibiting your gastrocnemius and soleus muscles due to our findings from the range of motion, static posture, and all our assessments. So we're going to start off with the inhibit stage to reduce the overactivity of these muscles, allowing for better movement in the ankle. Because the overactivity here could be causing the weakness in the anterior tibialis and posterior tibialis. So by doing this, we're going to do self-myofascial release with the tennis ball for about 30 to 60 seconds if you want to do like I showed you. Perfect. And then we're just going to do that for a while until the tissue loosens up.
So for our lengthening, we wanted to go through the gastrocnemius and soleus again because they could be over tight, overactive, so it would make sense. And so really what we wanted to do is allow for some lengthening of this tissue and muscle to allow for proper ankle movement. And this tightness could be doing, of course, couple words, reciprocal inhibition, where it's causing that anterior tibialis and posterior tibialis to be weaker. So we wanted to just create some more movement. We did this by static stretch, and we held for 30 seconds for each stretch. So moving on to that.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the lengthening phase. This is important because it allows for more proper ankle movement from the anterior and posterior tibialis. So first we're going to start off with stretching our gastrocnemius. So static stretching, we are going to hold it for 30 seconds for 2 to 3 reps. So first we're going to start off from my ankles, you can see, stretching our gastra. And it's just going to be like a normal calf stretch almost that we think of. And then once we're done with this, we're going to go to soleus, and basically we're just going to bend that knee of the soleus. Go ahead. Yeah, perfect. And then we're just going to hold that for a while. And then go ahead and try the soleus. We're just going to bend the knee. Yeah, perfect. Okay.
And then so we have second to last, our activate phase. And so really what we were doing right here is we wanted to focus on the anterior and posterior tibialis, mainly because the anterior tibialis is a prime mover for dorsiflexion, and because we had limited findings in range of motion and our strength assessment being a 1, we wanted to focus on that. Our posterior tibialis was for inversion, and that was scored weak. We didn't see that, so we did want to get that muscle activated as well. And again, these are huge ankle stabilizers, and we want to just make sure that we are facilitating proper movement in the future. We did positional isometric. I explain it in the video, but we did duration of 4 reps with increasing effort. So I push against and pull against our patient's ankle, not too hard, just enough to get like 25, 50, 75%, and then 100% of his effort. And then we repeat that. So here's this.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the activate phase. And for our test, we want to do the anterior and posterior tibialis in hope of working on that dorsiflexion and inversion. So the reason we do this is because this weakness may be contributing to the limited dorsiflexion, so we want to properly activate these muscles for future movement. So we're going to do some positional isometrics, and so we're going to do 4 reps with increasing effort, you pushing against my hand with 25, 50, 75, and then 100% effort. And so first we're going to do the anterior tibialis, so I will describe that as we go. So as seen, I'm just going to push against your foot, and then you're going to push against, sorry. On this one, I'm going to pull out while you try and keep your foot in dorsiflexion, like just pull back as much as you can with flexion, and then we're going to do 25, 50, 75, and 100% of your effort. So go ahead and go with 25. Okay, and then release, give a break, and then we're going to go 50. Perfect, okay, and then you get the idea. And then we're going to do the posterior tibialis, which is the opposite of me pushing at you while you're trying to push the other way. Okay, perfect. Okay, relax. And then we're going to do that again.
Okay, again, I talk him through all of these steps. So the last phase is integrate. Again, we want to get all these muscles working together. So anterior, posterior tibialis, or gastrocnemius, or soleus, all our ankle stabilizers. And this is going to reinforce positive movement for future. And then I did choose to do a lunge with a knee drive at the top for this patient to focus on balance, which just increases the use of all these muscles. And then we did a duration of 2 to 3 reps, 9 sets for 10 to 15 reps.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the integrate phase. And again, we're going to focus on the anterior and posterior tibialis, the gastrocnemius soleus, and all our ankle stabilizers. And this is going to help reinforce positive movement patterns in the entire kinetic chain for proper movement as we work on further movement. So for us, we are going to do a lunge with a knee drive at the top, and this is going to focus on balance and just working on those muscles. So we're going to do this for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. And so what I want you to do is I just want you to focus on the ankle we're having problems. And so we're going to just do a classic backwards lunge. And then at the top, I just want you to do a knee drive, and that's just going to focus on the ankle stabilizers. Perfect. And then if you could move just...
Okay, and then I had him do that for a while, a couple of reps, and then these are the references. Thank you.